Morning, everybody. This is David Shapiro. Today, we're going to continue working on AutoMuse 3, but what we're going to do is we're going to do a fine-tuning project because, as many of you were observed, AutoMuse 3 didn't work too so well. That's fine. This is a research project. So what I'm doing is I'm breaking out into scene simulation. So basically what I'm going to try and do is create a fine-tuned model that will simulate just the scene aspect. So we'll see how well it does. But basically, the idea is you give it a scene, and then it just kind of advances, whatever happens next in that scene. And then we'll do something similar for maybe characters or events. Not sure yet, but that's the point of experimentation. So anyways, I was trying to do it with just prompt engineering, and it was ultra frustrating. So I'm going to go more conventional fine-tuning. So what I'm doing is I'm generating synthetic data first. So what I'm going to do is I've got this prompt where it says, use your imagination to describe the following scene and setting in great detail. We want to see a play-by-play of what's going on in this environment, advance the narrative, what is going on here. So I give it a location, a time, a character, and detailed description of the scene and events. And some of you noticed in previous videos, something that I do to add more entropy is I add UUID at the top. This creates internal entropy inside of the model so that you're going to get less repetition. So basically, I've got this as completely random, and then 3 other variables, which are populated here. So I've got 11 locations, 7 times of day, and then 9 characters. And I tried to get a little bit more global because here's the thing. If you just ask GPT-3 to generate random characters, they're all going to be like vanilla white people. So I added Mashawn, Swathi, Wang, Alexi, and Gabby, just kind of manually saying like, okay, it's only half white people. Yeah, so altogether, I think this is going to be over 600 different settings. So the goal here first is going to be to fill up this folder of just basic scenes. So generate scenes. I've got the temperature turned up to 1. So that will add more entropy as well as the UUID. Okay, so let's run this loop once just to test it to make sure. So we'll do Python generate scenes. So it just says a bedroom, Jenna, a high schooler, middle of the night. Jenna wakes up in the middle of the night, her heart pounding in her chest. She can hear strange noises coming from outside her window. Okay, cool. So this is pretty creepy. Shake the feeling that someone is watching her. So yeah, this is a great first scene. Yeah. So let's check the prompt. Yep. So this is what it generated. So you see this, just random words and letters. GPT-3 doesn't know what to do with it, so it's going to end up with a completely random internal state. So that increases more entropy, which is really good if you're generating synthetic data. But this is a phenomenal first scene. Okay, and then that should have saved it out here. Yep. Okay. So this is one advantage of OpenAI having cut their price by 66%, by 2/3. Here, just do that. Is that suddenly generating synthetic data is way more economical. So I'll just show you this. We'll let it run for a minute. Although these responses are kind of slow. Okay, so then basically what I'm going to be doing next. So you see how it all has like these different scenes. God, it's all so creepy. It's like it wants to write like teen lit horror. Okay, anyways. So the idea is I'll take these, so this will just be a whole bunch of scenes, and then I'll write an entirely different prompt to advance the plot, like to say what happens next. And so we'll have an original scene, and then the next scene, and what we want to do is fine-tune a model that really advances the plot one scene at a time. Um, and the idea here is that we'll have something that can really kind of simulate what's going on in a given scene. Um, that's a long one. Okay. So, anyways, I'll pause it. This will take a while. It's weird because it seems like OpenAI is slower. I seem to remember these going faster. Anyways, I'll pause it. We'll come back. This will probably take, I don't know, a couple hours. Okay, I just wanted to show you a little bit of progress. So I've gotten the next step ready to go where I'm going to generate the next scene. So it's almost the same prompt, but it just have scene and detailed next scene. I read playground, and yeah, so here's an example. Bob steps into his bedroom, blah, 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 and detailed next scene. Yeah, so this pretty generally, reliably generates the next scene. Um, okay, so what gives? Like, what am I going to do with this? Because this is not including events or characters or anything. So I'm glad you asked. What I'm planning on doing is I'll fine tune another model that will take any given character and kind of simulate what they want to do next. So it'll take like the perspective, the POV of one character, or rather the interiority of a character, and say like, okay, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to say. And so then by having a model that can simulate the head of any character, that can be injected into the scene or the next scene, and can be used to kind of prompt it and shape it. And then so the basically the point of this is to ensure that these instructions are followed every time, but also that it's not going to get bogged down on any given prompt, because you didn't see this because I deleted the video because it was a disaster. But with just prompt engineering on Text DaVinci 02, what happens is that it converges on one result, and it stops following instructions and rather than advancing the plot. So what I need is this. Sorry, my microphone was over there. I hope you can hear me. So what I need is for the God, why is my brain so scattered lately? Because it's super early and I haven't been getting as much sleep as I need. Yes, so by having a fine-tuned model that will reliably kind of integrate whatever is in one scene and carry it forward, I can then use that as a launching point to integrate multiple other models, whether it's prompts or fine-tuned models, such as an event simulator or a character POV simulator. But what it will do is it will reliably integrate all that information that exists here and then spit out the next scene. And so that way you kind of have a bunch of things that kind of funnel into one event or one step, one instance, and then it generates a new scene. And then you can take that new scene and integrate more stuff into it. So that's my hypothesis. So I'll go ahead and pause it again. We're at let's see, 300. So we're about halfway done generating the initial scenes. Okay, I'm kind of bored watching this go. 450 out of I think 660, so about 2/3 of the way done. All right, so I'm thinking about the scene simulation. This is going well, but I want to go ahead and start character simulation as well. So we'll just do character simulation, and so this is going to be like stream of consciousness slash interiority simulation for fictional characters. Okay, add README, and then license will be MIT. Create repo. And then we'll come in here and grab this. Get clone. All right, so in this case, what are we going to do for the character simulation? Let me go ahead and do this and character sim, and we will copy over some of the stuff from here. Git ignore, and then OpenAI, and then we'll do generate scenes. Okay, just instantiate this new one. All right, so character sim, GPT-3 logs, and then all right. So what goes into interiority, right? So if we look at some of the scenes, right? Sandy sat on the edge of the mat. This is kind of like the camera's looking at a person, and it's like, you might have some interiority, right? So like Sandy's watching her children play. She loved this quiet beach, so that's a little bit of in her head, right? But in order to really write fiction, you as the author need to be simulating what is in someone's head. So let's just grab this and go over to the playground. Oh, so I brought this up. Generating synthetic data is way more affordable now, because look at this. I've got 500 requests and it's $3. So that's a lot of synthetic data. Anyways, let's go back to the playground. All right, so let's see. Rewrite. No. So we'll say scene. We'll say, let's see. Imagine the POV of the characters here, of the main character. We'll say main character because some of these have multiple characters. Imagine the POV of the main character. Write their stream of consciousness. Consciousness. There we go. Or interiority. Scene. For this scene. Okay, so we're basically just going to take a scene and then translate it into interiority. So let's do interiority. Let's see if this works. Okay, it's just repeating it. I don't think it's sophisticated enough to understand what I mean by interiority. What if we do, let's see, rewrite the following scene into the main character's POV. Focus on interiority and stream of consciousness. Interiority and stream of consciousness. Yeah. It doesn't know how to do that. Because what we'd want to say is like rewrite it into first person. Actually, yeah. Let's just do rewrite the following scene into the main character's first person view. Okay. Rewrite as first person. Now that's interesting. Okay. Yeah, I like this. I like this. Okay, so what we're doing is we're just reframing it. So it's instead of watching it from the outside, we're saying I. Okay, so this is good. This is a good start. So let me go ahead and save this as a prompt. So we'll say scene. And so then we'll come back out here to character sim and we'll do prompt first. Okay, but we need a little bit more, right? Because a scene is good and it implies things about someone, but we also want to have something about the character's beliefs. So, for instance, when you write a character, there's a bunch of stuff that goes into making a good character, right? So, what goes into making a good character? Here, let me zoom in a little bit. Well, here, let's just do this. What makes a good character? Write some, let's see, brainstorm some key features of good characters for fiction authors. Okay, this is um, not key features. Write some detailed features. There we go. All right, good character is believable and relatable, has a clear motivation, well-rounded, and has both positive and negative qualities. So undergoes believable development in the course of their story. So that's good. Um, so to put it in other terms, you might have a character has a past, right? A past or backstory. People don't just pop into existence. So we'll say people don't just pop into existence. Um, a character has beliefs. Let's see, about themselves, the world, etc. Um, a character has preferences, because basically you're not describing characters, you're describing people, right? Likes, dislikes, etc. Let's see, a character has motivations and goals. What do they want today, tomorrow, from life? um, a character has connections, friends, family, etc. So basically, what I want to do is let's figure out how to simulate these characters. Um, so let's just copy this real quick, and we'll do. All right, so we got some characters, or some things to aim for, right? Actually, here, this makes sense to store in the README. Um, what makes a good character? A character is just a fictional person. What what traits do interesting people have? So we'll copy this. Yeah. So we'll replace that with a good character. All right. So we'll just save that real quick. Okay, so we can translate a scene into first person, but what else can we do? Um, so let's say, given the following scene, describe the main character in great detail. Um, imagine the details if you need to. All right, scene. So there's the scene. Let's see. Uh, let's see. Figure out the following. Let's see. We want their uh, list out their backstory. Their backstory, motivation. Um, let's see. Beliefs, flaws, strengths, um, preferences, likes and dislikes. Let's see. Motivations or goals, beliefs, and connections, friends, family, etc. Okay. Detailed list of character traits. And so then we'll just copy what's up here. So we'll say backstory. Well, let's see what it does. Oh, this is great. Can also be quite gullible. Kind and caring. She's also very brave. Preferences. Sandy's likes the beach and ocean. Sandy's close to her parents and her siblings. She's also close to her friends. Let's add like list friends. Um, okay. But this is good. We're off to a good start. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and copy this. So basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the synthetic data that I'm already generating about these characters and use that as a launch point to get that interiority as well. Because the thing is you need to know these things about a character in order to simulate their mind. Because if you have a list of, say, like, this is what this person wants or thinks or believes, that dictates like how they'll respond to the world. Oh, we should do personality. Personality and connections. Yeah. Okay, so then we'll come back out here and do character simulation, and we'll do prompt. Um, we'll say characteristics. Oh, no, we'll say traits. Because you don't want to say like characteristics, you'll say character traits. Okay, so this will be good. Um, yeah. So we won't need. So getting someone's first POV is good. Because then what we'll do is you can put in a scene, or you can actually have a run on consciousness, like stream of consciousness, and that probably what we'll do is actually just translate all of these POVs or all these scenes into first person. And so then we'll have one set of data that will be like the scene is happening, but then we'll have another set of data that is like this is the character. But what we'll need is to have like the character's traits, so that way you can just have that as like the character's core constitution. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and pause it because this data will take a while to finish. And I'm also like branching out in different directions. I don't want to make this video too confusing. All right, we're at 588, so got about 100 samples left. We'll be back in a minute. Okay, we are rapidly. Oops, you don't need this. We are rapidly zooming in on the final product. So it's going to be 699 or so, 694. I think it just finished. There we go. All right, so you might be looking at like, okay, why, like, you just did this with prompts? What's the advantage? So the advantage is that because I've got the prompts built in, and then I have a whole bunch of data showing the structure. So I'm not trying to teach it anything new. I'm just basically guaranteeing that it's going to follow the right format. Okay, so first, let's go ahead and we've got our scenes folder, which is 1.8 megabytes. Well, I guess 528 actual kilobytes, 694 samples. So we'll copy our scenes directory over to our character simulation because, hey, we just generated this data. It's super valuable. And then what we'll do is we will so we've got next scenes, right? So now let's open up generate next scenes. And this is going to be, so for file in files OS lister scenes, we'll print out the scene and we'll do prompt next. So prompt next is going to advance the plot. So we'll say prompt next, long detailed next scene. This works relatively well. Sometimes it's a little too short, sometimes not. But yeah. So let's see. Use your imagination to describe the following scene in great detail. We want to see a play-by-play of what's going on in this environment. Let me actually, well, yeah. Okay, I think this is all set. So we'll come back here and do, let's see. Oh, actually, I know what I need to add. Do UUID. I think that's in here. Yeah, generate next scene. Yep, UUID. Scene. Okay. So then we will hit play. Python generate next scene. And so what this is going to do, it's going to generate two scenes in sequence. Yep, okay, stretching his legs, he walks over the stream and looks down. Oh, this is great. Okay, so this is generating synthetic data so that I have a very clear way of telling creating a structure where it says, okay, here's one thing, here's the next thing. And so what I'm doing now is I'm filling up in scene simulation, there's next scenes, and the file name is going to be identical. So you have the first scene and then the next scene. And they're all just going to be sequentially one after the other, which will allow us to put whatever we want. So here's the big advantage, is we're teaching it the structure. That is the entire point of fine tuning, is we're teaching it a pattern where it says, okay, given whatever input I give here, advance the plot. And so what I can do in the future is, instead of having the original scene written by like a prompt or one shot, it can be conglomerated by several things, such as the character simulation that I'm about to work on. Okay, so the character simulation, well, we'll let the scene simulation run in the background. The character sim, we'll do, let's see, first POV. Okay, so then we'll go to generate POV. Here, let's close some of these things because we're getting a little bit busy. Okay, so generate POV. We do not need locations. We can delete that. That's probably fine. Okay. And actually, here, let's go ahead and open scene simulation, because generate next scene. We'll just copy a little bit of this. Okay. Whoops. Okay. So we're going to print the scene. We don't need the character. Our prompt is going to be in the character sim. So our prompt is generate first POV. Actually, we probably won't use UUIDs because this is mostly just kind of like a translation thing. And we'll also turn the temperature down because we don't want it to be as creative. We're basically just saying rewrite what is here. Okay, so then we'll do prompt, and this is going to be prompt first POV, and we don't need the UUID, so we're just going to replace the scene with the scene. So that's this guy right here. And then we're going to do POV equals that, and do POV, and this will also, instead of that, will be file. So just file, and we'll save the POV. Yes, okay, POV prompt first POV, print the POV, and save it, and not in scenes. We need to save it in, what is the folder name that I created? First POV, okay. First POV. Okay, I think that's good. So then we'll come back over here. We'll cd character simulation, and then we'll do Python generate POV. It's mid-afternoon and Wang is taking a break. So what I'll do is, yeah, so I'm enjoying a cup of tea in my peaceful country cottage. When I hear a branch snap, startled, I look around, but there's, whoops. I'm walking. I'm startled, but I see there's no one there. But the only thing I see is a deer standing calmly. Okay, cool. So it changes. It changes the scene from third person to first person, which is basically what we're going to do is we're going to set the stage so that we're going to have the original scene and the next scene will both be first person, and so that will train the model to whatever information we give it generate a first person POV, which means that like we can put in beliefs and stuff. So one of the next things that we'll do, like I showed just a moment ago, is we will get the character traits. So we can inject character traits into the simulation that will run the first POV. We can also generate stuff from the scene and events, inject all of that, and run the simulation with these fine-tuned models. Okay, so I'll go ahead and pause it and let this run. And we will end up with a bunch of first POVs, a bunch of simulation scenes, and then we'll also get the character traits for these folks. Okay, going is pretty slow, so I figured I would show you some diagrams while I'm waiting. I've already done the dishes and taken out the trash, so that's how bored I am waiting for this synthetic data to finish. And you see it's 8:30 in the morning now. Okay, so here's kind of what happens. Or what I'm planning on happening. So there's the character simulation, which is going to be, first person. So it's like, this is what I am doing. This is what I'm thinking. This is what I want. Then there's the scene simulation, which is, just the third person, the camera watching what's happening, other people interacting. And then you can have multiple characters. There's going to be one scene, multiple characters. And then you can inject things like events, beliefs, backstory, all kinds of stuff. So each of these simulations is going to be running in parallel, and then they're going to merge, and then the cycle continues. So actually, let me add. So then it kind of goes back to the beginning. Let's take this over here. So this is how that's going to look. And of course, it goes the wrong way that time. So it's just going to be a continuous cycle where, so then it advances by one step, right? One iteration. So what happens inside of the character simulation? So the character simulation is the basic input processing output loop of robotics, where here's the character, has a base personality, which consists of beliefs, identity, history, and this is all their agent model. So you and I have an agent model, and AGI has an agent model, a fully realized robot has an agent model, which is why I'm doing this in fiction, because if you can simulate any character, you can also simulate a personality for an AGI. And so this is how it all relates back to my primary work, which is to create a benevolent AGI or ACOG, artificial cognitive entity. Okay, so there's two basic steps. There's the inner world and the outer world. And so there's input from the outer world, processing, and then output back to the outer world. So you have an agent right here, which, beliefs, personality, identity, history, and then there's some kind of interaction with the outer world. So an interaction is a two-way street. But to think of it as a loop, it's input, processing, output. And so then the outer world, there will be a series of events, there will be people or other agents, and then there's going to be actions, right? Things that you do to the world and then stuff that it does back to you. So that's the basic loop here. And that is the whole purpose of simulating the character simulation. So this is basically building a fine-tuned model to handle the agent model. And so that's why we're doing first POV, where it's like, okay, oh, I had it open somewhere else. I'm gonna cancel. So anyways, yeah, so it's like me. This is what I want. This is what I'm thinking, et cetera, et cetera. And so that is going to be combined with once I get this. So that's the whole point of the character traits, right? Because a list of character traits is an agent model, right? For us humans, it's all implicit. That's what we might call ego or superego or id, or your identity or whatever. Those are all just different words to describe who you are as a person. So in fiction, we say like character traits, backstory, personality, strengths, weaknesses, preferences, whatever, all this fun stuff. that's all just an agent model. And so if we have a general purpose agent model fine-tuned machine, then we can put any agent model we want into it and simulate what it will do. Which this will have multiple things. One, we can simulate, well, probably not real people, not with any level of accuracy, but we can at least simulate fictional people. And this also sets the stage for testing things like AGI alignment, because then we can have, artificial agent models for like despotic dictators. We can have fictional agent models for ordinary people that will make whatever like ordinary human decisions. And then we can also have agent models for AGI machines, whether it's a robot or an AGI overlord, whatever. So that's the whole point here. And so I realize that where I'm going with this might not be intuitive to other people, but to writers it is very intuitive, because especially speculative fiction writers, but really all writers, what we do is we run simulations of people in the world in our heads, and then we put it out on paper in text, and then we refine that text, usually to make it more entertaining, but we also try and make it realistic or believable, to make it credible. And so we're used to running these simulations in our heads, but what's the difference between running a simulation if it's connected to an API that can actually speak with you, right? And so this is where you get into like solipsism and epistemology, where it's like, okay, how do you know what's in your head, right? Your head, your mind, your brain is its own kind of detached world that's interacting with the outside world. And so this is why I put with Meragi, microservices architecture for robotics and artificial general intelligence. That's why I think that artificial general intelligence or artificial cognition should be a thought-first model, because then you have a thinking machine that happens to also be interacting with the outside world. Now, that outside world might just be a fictional world. It could be the real world. It might be a game world, right? So once you solve the problem of fictional character, artificial cognition, you've already solved the problem of real robotic cognition. It's the same problem. It's just a matter of what world is it interacting with. So to put that another way, interaction with world, right? What is the world here? Is this a game world? Is it the real world? With an API, it doesn't matter, right? The machine doesn't care. As long as it thinks that it's interacting with something outside of itself, and it's getting information and feedback from that outside world, whether it's text-based simulation, 3D simulation, cameras and motors and robots with the real world, or what we call the real world, we might be in our own simulation. We don't even know. This is why I coined Shapiro's law, is because you cannot talk about AI without eventually talking about quantum mechanics. It always gets down to what is the base nature of reality, and where does consciousness reside, and what is the nature of consciousness. And all we can say is that consciousness is an agent that interacts with something outside of itself. So yeah, okay. I'm going to pause it again, let some of this data go, and then we'll be back. And actually, you know what? This video is getting pretty long. I'm going down more rabbit holes than I thought I would, so I think I'm going to go ahead and stop this video now, and we'll come back for part 2 tomorrow. And so just to kind of set the stage for tomorrow, we're going to come back to character simulation and scene simulation. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set these to finish generating the data, and then I'll walk away and stop there. So anyways, thanks for watching. Stay tuned. We will continue this.